Namaste, Assalamu alaikum, Sat Sri Akal. Welcome, 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 my friends, for your rest and reset yin practice. Today's practice is honoring the women of Afghanistan. And we are in a blue moon in Aquarius. So this is the second moon in this cycle. Over 12 months, there's 13 moons. And so it's a very very special moon, this moon we have in Aquarius. And this moon in Aquarius is the moon of change, of transformation, of disruption, of chaos. And we can see that in evidence around us. So our practice today is going to draw upon these themes in support of the voices of Afghan women, particularly those who write poetry, this traditional oral poetry of Landays, which I talked about. So we'll draw upon that as we move through our practice of yin. Let's start by having available all that we need for our practice. Perhaps folded blankets, one or two, blocks, low footstool, bolster or bolster equivalent, cushions. You are in your homes, you have everything available that you may need at hand. Rolled up blankets, rolled up cushions, rolled up duvets, heavy towels will all perform the same support for you. The mudras that we're going to adopt today, we're going to have two mudras in our practice today, the Rudra Mudra and the Shakti Mudra. So let's start with the Rudra Mudra. And the Rudra is, as you may recognize, is the name for Shiva, this energy of pure consciousness, of pure awareness. And within this energy of pure consciousness and awareness, there is that awakening that takes place. And that awakening can be a roar, can be a howl. And so Rudra Mudra in this context is that awakening. Let's bring the thumb, index, and ring finger to touch. And the middle finger and the little finger extended. So thumb, index, ring fingers to touch, middle fingers extended. Palms face up on your lap, your knees or thighs. In your Sukhasana, eyes closed or gazing down towards the earth. Let's take these first few moments of our practice to arrive on the mat. Observing the breath. The expansion and contraction of the breath. The rise and fall. The ebb and flow. Using the breath today to illuminate all that will reveal the essence of your creative energy, the essence of the creative energy of Afghan women, the potency which is attached to the spoken word, the potency which is attached to the creative expression of the self. Revealing the power of protest, of resistance through creative channels. Our mantra for today is Om Shrim Som Somaye Namaha. And Som is the full essence or nectar of the moon. The brilliant radiance of the full moon, which enlightens and illuminates. And Shrim, the bija sound, the seed sound therein, is a sanctuary, haven, refuge, a place of asylum, that in the darkness all around, that when we are in the essence and the light of the full moon, as if we are being bathed, lit up, illuminated in its brilliant reflection, in that space, we have a moment of sanctuary, of refuge, of haven. And that essence we want to invoke and honor and offer in all aspects of our life as we move through the world. Not only we as individuals, but we as a collective global community standing in solidarity. We'll chant Om 3 times to open, and then our mantra 3 times, this tool of the mind, when we feel powerless to take action. Chanting mantra can help us feel connected or guided, or guide our intentions, our purpose, give us purpose in our actions. Inhale fully to prepare for Om. 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 Om Shrim Som Somaye Namaha. Om Shrim Som Somaye Namaha. Om Shrim Som Somaye Namaha. Take a moment here, and we're going to connect with Chandra Bedana or Chandra Bedi Pranayam, which is inhaling through the left, exhaling out through the left. And we keep the right nostril closed. So this is to activate the Ida Nadi, the channel that is connected to the lunar energies of this full moon. So bringing your dominant hand into Vishnu Mudra by folding in the peace fingers, that's your index and middle finger. And then bring your hand in front of your face. Your other hand, bring the thumb and index to touch in Chin Mudra, palm face down, this Mudra of consciousness. Take a full breath in through both nostrils and out through both nostrils. This cleansing breath to start with. Cover the right. Inhale, left. Pause at the top of the breath. Exhale, left. Pause at the bottom of the breath. Inhale, left. Pause momentarily at the top of the inhalation. Exhale, left. Pause momentarily at the bottom of the exhalation. Inhale, left. Drawing the breath towards the third eye, the Ajna chakra. Pause before exhaling. Pause before the next inhale, left. Pause Holding the breath in, exhale left. Pause, holding the breath out. Inhale left. Pause, holding the breath in. Exhale left. Pause, holding the breath out. 3 more cycles in this way. With the inhale, the exhale, and the kumbhaka, the holding of the breath, the retention of the breath. Puraka, Antara kumbhaka, Rechaka, and Vaihi kumbhaka. The in, the hold, the out, the hold. And then releasing the breath after your rounds. Open your eyes if they were closed. And let's bring our feet into Badakanasana for our first posture here. Bring the soles of the feet together, open at the knees. Have a wide, generous diamond here. And then let's press the big toe, the index, the second toe, the third toe, the fourth, the fifth. And massage the sole of your foot, pressing and giving yourself this short foot massage. And when you get to the ankle, press firmly and then draw a line with your thumb from the ankle along the inside of the shin until you come to a very tender spot here. And when you reach this tender spot here, gently press in here. This here will help to relieve some of the compression, the tenderness, the caution that we may be experiencing. You'll feel this tenderness. And then when you're ready, let's release it. And then the other option here I'm going to give you is to go to the top of the feet and between the big toe and the second toe. Again, you can press here with your index and peace fingers here so that the thumb is on the inside underneath of the foot and the index and peace fingers are on the top. And again, squeeze here between the big and second toe. Gentle pressure here. So we're working here very much on the liver. The liver is what releases cataclysmic change, where the restless energy of anxiety may be very present for us in a world that is changing, a world that feels beyond our control. And then when you're ready to release the gentle pressure from between the two toes, or if you've sort of focused here on the area just inside the shin, let's lengthen the crown towards the sky, towards the full moon, and fold forward so that we can come into a folded Badakanasana. And here, my friends, you have the option of using props. So sometimes standing up bolster or a large pillow and resting the eyebrows center can give you some support. You may also want to create a bridge by placing your pillows across your feet. You can also layer them up by placing them on a footstool or blocks. And again, you may rest your eyebrow center here. So lift the bolster or pillow towards you by using support so that your forward fold feels sustainable. Remember our key principles of yin. Explore the subtle edges. And then surrender and soften into the stillness. So that play with the subtle edges, that exploration, the curiosity about the subtle edges, maybe we go deeper or maybe we draw back. And this is a principle that we practice throughout yin with each of our asanas. And here in this forward fold of Badakanasana, working particularly today on the gallbladder and liver, is we're working with this element, the element of wood. Wood is flexible, adaptable. It regenerates and grows. It is strong, yet can be adaptable and flexible and adjust. So thinking about how we can apply that principle to where we are globally. That once policy decisions are made, once strategic decisions are confirmed, there is still room for change. There's room to observe where disruption or chaos has resulted because of that decision, and how can we channel that into a transformative energy that serves the greater good. Three more breaths here in Badakanasana. And inhale to rise up. From here, my friends, we're going to move into Guma shoelace pose. So two options for you. Ardha Guma with the left leg extended and then cross the right knee over the left knee. If that feels like the edge you want to play with today, this is where you will stay and experience this asana. Your alternative option is to fold in the left heel towards the right hip. So you find this variation either Ardha Guma or Guma with both legs folded in towards your hips. And when you have this, and you feel this intense experience in the hips in particular, this is where we release our emotions. And when I was talking about the Afghan poetry of Landays, these two-line couplets, this tradition of poetry is a poetry of release, of rebellious release, of the voicing of anger, rage, emotion, pain, love, passion. So in your Guma, take a few moments here with the spine tall. And I'm going to invite you to fold forward. And in your folding, find how far forward you would like to hinge here. And again, make use of props. Creating bridges with your bolsters, your pillows, your low footstools. You can place the bolsters or pillows on a footstool. You can place them on your knees. And then you can rest your eyebrows. You have support. You do not need to make use of props. The props are there to create more space. And when you are in your forward fold and you're happy in that experience of that subtle edge, you are content in that subtle edge. Remember, this is an invitation for surrender into and softening into stillness. If you are feeling discomfort or you are feeling pain, then you are not likely to surrender physically. You are not likely to release the thoughts. You will be focusing on the intensity of the experience as opposed to moving out of the body and into this meditative state where we move beyond the physical sensation, where we move into the layers of the self that are expansive beyond the physical. Bringing your hands into your Rudra Mudra, index and ring finger to thumb. Landays, the poetry of Afghan women, where we often have these perceptions and stereotypes of Islamic women, of women of Eastern cultures, or Asian cultures, as mute, as submissive, as subjugated. And yet this powerful platform for resistance reveals the power of these women, of women who are within their sense of personal power, even where political power may be absent. There's this enduring power from within that defies our assumptions. So one of the Landays, so I'm going to read some Landays for you today. And they are powerful and intense. You sold me to an old man, father. May God destroy your house. I was your daughter. And feel the power of those words. There's no element of subjugation there. There is defiance. When we in the West are moved to act in compassion and in solidarity, we can often take on this mantle of saviorism. Know that in our call to action, it is not out of the attempt to give voice or to save. It is to create the political path which can be traversed by powerful women. It is to open borders by putting pressure on our governments, on our systems of bureaucracy and power. Inhale, rise up from your forward folding Badakanasana. Now, if you have your leg folded, extend the left leg long and then lift the right leg here. Now we're going to move into Badakanasana, Dragonfly Pose here. So here, my friends, the options are going to be to take your legs wide, and we're all going to be in completely different places here. So we're not expecting to all look the same. Now, options here are to place support underneath the knees. So this is where you can use cushions. Pardon me as I collect my cushions. You can sit on a cushion as well to slightly give your spine a little bit of lift. And so when you're already there, that's one option, sitting tall here. We are going to hinge forward and fold forward. And again, my friends, we are going to reach a different angle. There's no judgment. There's no attachment to the physical form here. We are going to reach towards our subtle edge so that we may surrender and soften there. And so I'm going to create myself some support so that when I fold forward, I can rest on a pillow or a bolster. Again, you create what you need. This is a practice. This is the practice of yin, which is not a practice often seen as a practice for these like intense stretches that work deep on the tissues. We are more likely to reach the deep tissues when our body is relaxed. It's softening. We work beyond the muscles. So if we're tense, we're not working at a deep level, we're focusing on the superficial. Lengthen, and then as you exhale, fold forward. Now your forearms can rest on the earth, on your support, or you can reach forward and rest your eyebrow center on the earth or your support. And it may help to place your hands on your legs or wrap your peace fingers around the big toe. Forward folding dragonfly, Badakanasana. Lengthen through the spine and then hinge from the hips. So the action is coming at the hips. If you have tightened hamstrings, as I do, depending on how the sports you do or the activities you partake in, all kinds of reasons, this pose can feel really challenging. So if you find that sustaining it is distracting, is disrupting to your nervous system, then rise up from it and be more upright. And remember, you can also use your mudra here, your Rudra Mudra. It is said that between the two Aquarius, the two full moons in Aquarius, that we've had this bridge or this portal in which there was Lion's Gate in between the two. We want to see these as bookends, as the beginning and the ending of a cycle. And in this cycle in particular, there may have been a very heavy burden for us to carry. This awakening, this understanding, this knowledge that we have perhaps not been paying attention to, have suddenly discovered now that there's more global awareness and global attention. Some of us may come into understanding that what is happening far across the world, away from us, affects us intimately here because we are interconnected. Here's another Landays for you to consider. I call your stone. One day you'll look and find I'm gone. I call your stone. One day you'll look and find I am gone. Let's take 3 more deep breaths here in our variation of Badakanasana. And then inhaling, we'll rise up, lead with the heart. And then if you, like me, have created a structure of support around you, remove the support. And placing your hands underneath your thighs, draw in the feet. And I invite you here to place your hands behind you, fingertips pointing forward, and then windshield wiper your knees from left to right. And this is a great release for me personally. And I hope that you find it helpful too. Now we're going to move into Badakanasana to the other side. So extend the right leg and let's cross the left knee over the right knee here. Now, my friends, again, the option, Ardha Gomakasana. Alternative, bring that left heel in towards the left hip. Lengthen here in Gomakasana. And again, at any point, if you wish, you can massage that point, that liver 3 point between the two toes, the big toe and the second toe. Gentle pressure there. Just supporting the activation of the flow of prana, the flow of chi. When you're ready, we're going to fold forward. So again, use what you wish to do. So I often like to try different variations. So you might want to place a cushion. Hands on the earth in your mudra. And fold forward. And again, remember this angle forward can be acute or more wide. I thank you for joining today's fundraiser. All we're doing is raising funds. And we are directing them to organizations who work on the ground, the United Nations Refugee Agency and Women for Women International, who support displaced families, who support those fleeing from persecution in conflict zones around the world. And those of us who live in the West have the privilege of living in peace, free of conflict, free of war. And therefore we have a moral duty. It is a universal truth that those with power and privilege have a duty and a responsibility and are accountable to take actions within their means to support those for whom there are barriers placed, particularly those placed by the West. And here's another powerful Landay. May God destroy the Taliban and end their wars. They've made Afghan women into widows and whores. This is a Landay by an Afghan woman. And for those women, there's this very powerful literary group in Afghanistan, Mirman Bahir, who came to the UK about 5-6 years ago as part of a festival. And the women who participated are in fear now, living in fear. Because expressing these powerful words, these Landays, is an act of rebellion, is an act of resistance, is an act of rage and anger. And in yoga, we do not turn away from these deep emotions, because deep emotions are the lifeblood of our humanity. This powerful period in the lunar cycle is a period of revolution, of change, of transformation, of lives turned upside down. If we have the power to take action and we procrastinate, or we put it off, or we delay, or we don't see it as our responsibility, then we are compliant. We are complicit in pain and suffering around the globe. Inhale to rise up with your internal power, feeling strong. Resolve to create change. Om Shrim Som Somaye Namaha. Let's release our Guma. So if your right leg is extended, or you wish to extend it now, and then let's release the left knee. Again, let's hug the knees in here. And maybe gently rock from side to side. Maybe you extend your legs long this time and flex the feet from one direction to another. We're going to move into Crescent Moon Pose, lying on the earth. So this is Chandrasana, supine Chandrasana, Supta Chandrasana. So I'm going to create some space. You may wish to layer the earth with your blanket. It's always very beautiful to have a layer on our mats of a blanket. So feel free to do that. Move with care as you come to the earth here. So lie down in the center of your mat. And settle here for a moment. We're going to lift our hips and move the hips, leave the feet and the head where it is, and we're going to move the hips over to the left. And then walk our feet to the bottom right-hand corner and turn our head more towards the top right-hand corner so that we create this sort of banana asana on the earth. Cross the left ankle over the right. Again, explore this subtle edge. Be curious about the sensation you're experiencing now. It may be too intense. So let's uncross that left ankle. Options to reach overhead. Take hold of the left wrist with the right hand and draw the left hand up towards the right corner. You can also have your hands alongside your body if it feels as if you're losing sensation in your arms or you have pins and needles. And so this is your Supta Chandrasana. You may wish to cover yourself with a blanket. In yin, our body temperature drops considerably. We can feel a cooling of the body. This is the cooling light of the moon. And today in South Asia, it's Raksha Bandhan or Rakhi or Rakhi. This day when siblings tie a red thread around each other's wrists in a connection of bond, of love, of honoring in that sibling relationship. But I'm going to read another Landay, which gives us a different perception. And rather than feel distressed at the Landays that I'm sharing with you, please remember the voice of the woman behind that Landay and the courage it takes to write these words, to sing these words, to share these words. And that these words should be repeated and heard wide, far and wide. When sisters sit together, they always praise their brothers. When brothers sit together, they sell their sisters to others. Words of Afghan women. I'll make a tattoo from my lover's blood and shame every rose in the green garden. I'll make a tattoo from my lover's blood and shame every rose in the green garden. And if you go to YouTube, you can hear some of these Landays being performed. Three more breaths here in our Supta Chandrasana to the right. Release your hands if you are holding onto your wrist. And cross that left ankle. And then let's move our hips through center all the way over to the right. And move our feet to the bottom left-hand corner. Turn our head to the top left-hand corner. Reach overhead if you are reaching overhead and take hold of the right wrist with the left wrist. And even when you take hold of the wrist, you can bring your hands into your mudra. So reach your ring and index finger towards the thumb. So that you are now in Supta Chandrasana, over to the left. Our rebellious hearts are connected with one another under this full moon. Here, as we explore our subtle edges and we surrender in softness and stillness, this gives us a moment to pause and reflect and bear witness with non-attachment. I do not invite you to become attached to the words that I share with you in terms of the Landays. I invite you to bear witness, because this is how we keep alive the cultures and traditions of people who are being persecuted. This is how we connect with a universal language of resistance, of rebellion, of protest. So this is another Landai here. Girl, slide your hand inside my bra. Stroke a red and ripening pomegranate of Kandahar. Boy, I'd slide my hand inside your bra, but who will drop coins in the attendant's jar? These poems, these Landais about love, about sex, about lust, about men, about women's desire, about women's fears. It is our duty to preserve these stories. Is there not one man here brave enough to see how my untouched thighs burn the trousers off me? For God's sake, I'll give you a kiss. Stop shaking my pitcher and wetting my dress. I'll kiss you in the pomegranate garden. Shh. People will think a goat stuck in the underbrush. Come, let's lie thigh against thigh. If you climb on top, I won't cry. Ouch, don't squeeze me so tight. My breasts burned from becoming a woman last night. Bright moon, for the love of God, don't blind two lovers with such naked light. Bright moon, for the love of God, don't blind two lovers with such naked light. These are powerful, beautiful, strong words. Inhale, let's come back to center, my friends. From here, we're going to move into Kapotasana. So we'll do this 2 variations. So depending on, we can do a reclined variation here. So let's move our hips back to center when we're ready, coming back to center of our mat. And bend into the left leg, place the foot on the earth, and then cross the right ankle onto the left thigh. So this is one variation of we can come into Kapotasana. And you may choose to stay here today. You can also place, and pardon me as I move my bolster, you can place your foot on a bolster. You can place that left foot on a chair. You can rest it on a table on the end of your sofa so it's a little bit higher. If you wish, you don't have anything close to you, you can always place your left foot on a wall. This is a great way to come into pigeon, reclined variation of pigeon, Kapotasana. So that's one alternative, my friends. If you wish to come into the traditional variation of the supine variation, then let's turn onto our abdomens here. And see, we had the right leg crossed. So let's bring the right knee in towards the right hand here by bending into the knee. Extend that left leg long behind you. You might roll onto your hip to adjust that right foot. So this is the alternative variation for your Kapotasana. We're going to come to the earth with our upper body towards our heart. So you may want to rest on a pillow or a bolster. And if you're choosing to do this, I'm going to invite you to come into Shakti Mudra with your hands. So Shakti Mudra, fold in the thumb and then take the index and middle finger and fold them over the thumb. And then bring the ring and little fingers to touch. So folding the thumb, bring over the peace fingers, bring the peace fingers together from knuckle to knuckle, and then the tips of the ring and the tip of the little fingers connect in Shakti Mudra. And this is if you have your forearms on the earth. So it's always worth taking these few moments to really settle yourself into the variation you would like to surrender into. So if you want to extend your arms long on the earth and rest your eyebrows center, you may do this. And if you're on your back, you can also bring your hands into your Shakti Mudra and take them overhead. You can be in different places. Remember that left foot can be against the wall or on a bolster or a pillow or edge of some furniture. So there's 2 options to explore here. Om Shrim Som Somaye Namaha. Om Shrim Som Somaye Namaha. Om Shrim Som Somaye Namaha. Your eyes aren't eyes, they're bees. I can find no cure for their sting. Your eyes aren't eyes, they're bees. I can find no cure for their sting. And these Landays that I'm reading to you, I sent the links out in the newsletter. So if you haven't read the article, please do. May God make you into a riverbank flower, so I may smell you when I gather water. May God make you into a riverbank flower, so I may smell you when I gather water. Pause and reflect. Bear witness with non-attachment. Do not get caught up in your own emotions and feelings and responses and reactions. Do not center yourself here. This is not our pain and suffering. This is not our sorrow. This is where we are called upon to bear witness with courage, without being drawn into our own feelings, because by doing that, we are centering our own voices, our own feelings. Remember to return to the voices of Afghan women. We are not saviors. We are partners. We are taking action in solidarity. Of water, I can't even have a taste. My lover's name written on my heart will be erased. One more breath here. And we're going to come out of this pose with care and tenderness. So if you are reclined in your variation of Kapotasana, let's release that left foot to the earth and release the right foot. And then transition over onto the other side. And again, we can place the right foot on a bolster, a pillow, on the wall, on some furniture. Even extend the leg long if you wish, my friends. Then you can come into your Shakti Mudra by folding in the thumb and wrapping the peace fingers over the thumb, bringing the tips of the ring and little fingers together. So you have both hands together here and reach overhead. If you're in the supine variation, the prone variation rather, rising up with care, tucking the left toe, and then slide the right leg behind you. You might want to stretch it out to release. And then draw in the left knee towards the left hand. Reach the right leg long. Perhaps you come onto the left hip to adjust that right foot. And then when you're ready, lengthen before folding down towards the earth in your Kapotasana. And again, you can bring your forearms onto the earth with your Shakti Mudra, and you can extend your arms long. The eyebrow center on the earth or on a cushion. In Yin practice, we don't adopt a number, we don't sort of fast forward through a whole series of asanas. We are paced here. We progress slowly through one asana to the next. We transition because this is a type of meditation. Yes, we know that we are also working on the body. The energy channels of the body, the physicality of the body by stretching the ligaments and the tendons and working at the fascia. But very much for me, this is a practice rooted in the philosophical traditions in which our asana practice leads to our meditation practice. And it is through that pathway that we connect with the pure consciousness, pure awareness. The asana practice is almost the Shakti energy that is activating our connection to awareness, to consciousness, to understanding, to illumination and enlightenment. This one's a funny one. Mullah, give me back my billy goat. I've had no kiss, despite that spell you wrote. Mullah, give me back my billy goat. I've had no kiss, despite the spell you wrote. These Landays can be very much like call and response. So there's this idea of sparring between lovers or sparring between warring parties. Girl, when you kissed me, you bit me. What will my mother say? Boy, give your mother this answer. I went to fetch water and fell by the river. Girl, your jug isn't broken, my mother will say. So why is your bottom lip bleeding that way? Boy, tell your mother this one. My jug fell on clay, I fell on stone. Girl, you have all my mother's answers, sweet. Now take my raw mouth. Bon appetit. Bon appetit. This rivalry, this sparring with words. So often there will be a sense of community of sitting around in these communal spaces. Sharing Landays, trying to outdo each other. These oral traditions of community. Three more breaths here. And remember that our call of action in yoga isn't always to protect our feelings, to be in our comfort zone, to turn away. Call to action in yoga is to meditate upon the words that call us into action. To know that just as Landays are the platform for resistance and rebellion, yoga is also a platform for resistance and rebellion. My friends, we are going to transition into your Shavasana. And remember, this is where I leave you. So set yourself up now. You either come out of your Kapotasana, whichever variation you're in, and you're going to extend your legs along the line of the earth. So gather what you need to be here for the next 5, 10, 15 minutes. Use your blankets, your pillows, your eye pillows. Set your timer. And remember, this is your responsibility now, so that when you rise out of your Shavasana, you close your practice by chanting Om Shreem Som Somaye Namaha 3 times, and then Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. I give you autonomy and agency for your Shavasana to be as long or as short as you would like it. So set yourself up. This is your moment to take tender care of yourself. And when you are ready, rise with care. I thank you, my friends, for joining me in our practice today. I thank you for your donations. I thank you for your ever-growing awareness and compassion. Om Shrim Som Somaye Namaha. Om Shrim Som Somaye Namaha. Om Shrim Som Somaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Dhanyavad. Dhanyavad.